Hello ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. I'm Brendan Lee. In this video, I want to talk to you about how to choose a martial arts class. Alright, cool. This comes from a question from my forum. If you want to check the forum, there's a link in the description. Okay, there's a link to my website in the description. Go to my website, navigate, you know how to do this, and join the forum. People post a lot of questions there. You can also interact with them, leave comments and such, as you can see. Check the links, blah, blah. I'll read a little bit and then we'll get into the video, but essentially somebody's looking about choosing a martial arts class. I want to help with that. Hi, Brendan. I appreciate a lot your YouTube channel and Ralston's work. Hey, thank you. Thanks for watching. Lately, I've been more and more thinking about getting back into martial arts. I'm 27. I'm living in Rome, Italy. In high school, I did a few years of karate, got up to green belt, and then before the pandemic, did some Krav Maga. Yeah, okay. Thing in parentheses, I guess you have to check the forum to read the post. So that's my only background in the field. I have felt some attraction to Muay Thai, Aikido, Judo, BJJ, Wing Chun, etc., or to getting back to practicing Krav Maga to focus on the self-defense side of things, but in reality, I'm really not sure. Each of them is something that turns me on, but at the same time pushes me away. Okay, so some indecision. Ideally, I would take many of them, since each has a unique way of fighting and would benefit, but the day is only made of 24 hours and there is work and other passions to cultivate, so I need to be selective and choose wisely. Ideally, from a martial art, I would want something that I enjoy, that keeps the body trained and healthy, and that has proven effectiveness in real-life fighting and self-defense scenarios. Taking MMA classes, for example, would be amazing for its effectiveness and for being a synthesis of many styles of combat, but a turnoff would be too often being often too savage, too violent, too savage. The culture of violence that many teachers and people who practice it have the augmented risk of taking huge hits to the head or some other heavy injury. Systema, for example, might have some of what I ask, but there's not a very good school within reach for me. From what I experienced by practicing it a bit, it seems to be the martial art that is closer to many principles that Ralston teaches. What are your tips on this, given your experience? If one doesn't have access to you or Peter in a short time frame and for a long period of time, what martial arts would you choose, ideally just one, and how would you screen for a good school and teacher? Thanks in advance. Cheers, Stefano. Hey, thanks for writing in. Yeah, cool. Martial arts class. Well, and you're in Rome. I don't know what's in Rome. Not all, so let's see. We make some distinctions. There's martial arts, what people call martial arts. Well, I think they're starting to call martial arts more and more. It's leaning towards MMA, but there's a difference between martial arts and fighting. Martial arts and fighting. Martial arts is not fighting. Martial arts might be, they have ideas about fighting. They often go through the motions and have fantasies about being good at fighting, but they can't actually fight. All right, karate is like one of those. All the traditional martial arts, like the kung fu, the Wing Chun, the Aikido, the Tai Chi, although Tai Chi doesn't, old people in the park, but originally used to be martial art, back in the day. And all that traditional stuff, that's all martial arts. What are they? Wushu. See, it's like performance. It's like dance with a fantasy about fighting. And then there's stuff that actually fights, okay? The stuff that actually fights, that's your judo, your Brazilian jiu-jitsu, your MMA, your boxing, your Muay Thai. These people, and then what is that? What's the difference there? Well, when a judo guy grabs you against your will, he can throw you, or she or whomever can throw you on the ground. See, they go for it. Aikido does not do that. They have fantasies about doing that, but they don't do it. A judo person, they'll grab you and trash your ass to the ground against your will. Same with a boxer. If you're doing fisticuffs, they will hit you against your will. So no matter what you do, they could potentially damage you. You see, and that's like the difference. One is fighting, the other is not. Although maybe loosely related, but mostly in fantasy only. Good exercise, but don't confuse that with fighting. Now, you mentioned you wanted to have a real-world application. Sounds like you want to learn how to fight. Stuff like Krav Maga even, I understand that Krav Maga teaches stuff to, I think, the Israeli military. They use it And it's basic shit, and it's vicious. And that's the whole, as far as I can tell, the whole idea. Like, grab the arm. Here's some very mechanical stuff that maybe it can work in an armed combat situation. Say you've lost your gun. Here, stick this dude with a knife, spit in his wounds or something. I don't know. It's like that. It's meant to be like that, to really damage somebody. However, they did some studies. There was a study, I read a book, and there was a study done, I believe in Japan back in the day, because Jigoro Kano, and please correct me if I get any of this wrong, let me know in the comments, but I'm pretty sure I'm quite accurate on this one. Jigoro Kano was the founder of judo. And in Japan, judo was up and coming, and then there was this old jujutsu, it was the older traditional martial art from Japan. And the traditional martial art, they practiced deadly techniques, but they could not use full force because they were deadly techniques. And the judo people, they used less deadly techniques, but they could practice with full force against a resisting opponent. And the local police force apparently was having a contest. They're like, which one should we teach our guys? The cops that are going to be on the street dealing with real stuff. And probably the military too, although I don't know for sure. Maybe it was the military, not the police. But anyway, they were trying to figure out which one to do, so they had a contest. And apparently the judo people smoked them. You see, so they're not using quote-unquote deadly techniques, but because they train against a resisting opponent, they understand things, they can do stuff to that person against their will and dominate. See, so that says something about, in this case, judo and the difference between fighting and a martial art. Okay? So now, for you, that's just a little backstory, a little something fun, and for the listeners, maybe something fun as well. Really depends on what you want. If you want that real world stuff, you want to feel confident in your own skin. You see, now it's going to be judo, mixed martial arts, boxing, Muay Thai, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, wrestling. I forgot wrestling in my previous, wrestling also. Although they are very much in the strength department. Those guys are very explosive, very strong, and they will throw you to the ground. They'll drop you on your head, that kind of stuff. Against your will. They actually fight. Then it depends on sort of what you want to do. Well, what would you like to do? Muay Thai and boxing, this is hitting, so striking. It's going to work out certain muscle groups. It's very cardio heavy. Of course, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu will do the same thing, but in a different domain. And as far as I can tell, those muscles don't have too much crossover. Like the muscles you'll develop and the strengths you'll develop as a striker are going to be in like a sort of different category than the strengths and the muscles you'll develop as somebody who's doing grappling. So now if you wanted like a well-rounded thing, I would do some... okay, so let's see, where are we at? We're at Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, grappling, so you can hit people. You can essentially grab them, throw them down, as in judo wrestling. And then once you're on the ground, you can choke them, break them, hurt them that way. And those are like what I make up as the 3 domains that you're going to use if you're doing hand-to-hand combat. Now, if you do other stuff, like if somebody, for example, if you're on the street, just a sidebar, and somebody pulls a knife on you, this is a whole different domain, okay? It's probably linked to the striking domain. It's essentially... don't let them touch you and you touch them, because if they touch you with a knife, it doesn't take much to open you up and make you bleed to death. And if you don't trust me, just watch a few videos of some people getting stabbed. Like, for example, I saw a video once of a guy getting stabbed in the neck, and it was quick. It was like, "Put up," and then he was bleeding out and died, actually. See, so you have to be very, very careful with shit like that. And guns, well, you don't live in the States, so that's probably not as much of an issue, but over here, that's different, okay? I'm still considering that a fighting art. It's a martial arts, an art of war, but that's a different consideration and probably not pertinent here. I'm just, again, sidebar sharing for other people and for you, whatever. Now, if you wanted one class to take, if I was you, it would either be a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu class, and the reason being most fights end up on the ground anyway. Now, you start standing, you start apart, But as long as you don't get knocked silly in the first few things, you're likely to tussle with somebody, and somebody's going to end up on the ground. And so if you end up on the ground, that would be my number one. Okay? Because once you're there, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu people understand what to do, and it's, you can do that. Now again, I would consider if it's one-on-one, good, but if it's multiple people, do not go on the ground because this is not a safe place to be, so you should understand that at the very least. Otherwise, I would choose a good mixed martial arts class, MMA. Why? Because they should do all of it in an MMA class. There should be some striking, there should be some throwing, and there should be some grappling mixed in there. You see, and then you get the full mix. You get trained up. You understand what happens when somebody's trying to punch you. You understand a bit what happens when somebody tries to grab you and how to throw them down and how to avoid being thrown. And then once you're on the ground, you understand that too. So it's very well-rounded, all right? And it will, make you fit if you do a lot of it, and it should calm your mind down, or at least the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu guys get kind of calm. And what I mean by that is, if somebody puts them on their back, they're not too panicked about it. Because they've been put on their back. They've been people trying to choke them, smother them, things like that. And then so the mind tends to chill. Like the good guys, they're just super chill. You wouldn't expect, oh, okay, that's just a chill guy. Yeah, you don't know that chill guy can hurt you bad against your will. He's just kind of relaxed anyway. That's my observation. So now for you, those are my suggestions. You'll get value. Wrestling, I'm like, judo more. For me, judo more. Wrestling, not so much. It's super strength oriented. There are some good points, but I think judo requires a bit more finesse. Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu definitely requires finesse if you want to get good at it. And then boxing by itself or striking by itself, if you force yourself not to block, you will learn a lot of finesse. If you just follow the normal rules, which people are likely to have you follow, they're going to have you block and parry, but that will mean that you will not learn a certain skill set regarding striking that you will be forced to learn if you take this plunge and make sure that the way that you defend yourself is by avoiding being hit rather than blocking their punches. But that's another story. Again, another sidebar. I've moved off. So for you, just check it out. Okay? My recommendations: Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, MMA, then next I would do judo, and then boxing and Muay Thai on their own, like striking stuff, okay? Those like in that order, if you care. Now, selecting a school, go in there, try a class. You'll know when you get in there, there'll be a vibe in the place. You'll see how the people are when they interact with you. You'll see how the teacher is when the teacher interacts with the students. So these are things I would watch out for, take a look at. And you'll know pretty quick, like, what's the vibe in here? Like, I've been in some places where, the students are, extra violent, or they're just too aggressive. And usually the guys with the less skill tend to be more aggressive. The guys that, I would rather roll with black belts because they understand rolling is what the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu people do when they train, when they fight together. It's called rolling. I would rather train with a black belt because he knows how to hurt me. Which means if he knows or she knows how to hurt me, they also know very well how to not. All right? People who are in the lower ranks tend to panic, freak out, and they do random shit violently, and they have very little awareness about what they're doing, so you have to be more careful with younger belts than you do with more advanced people, again, in my experience. So, again, another sidebar, check out the class, check out the teacher. I personally don't like being in a class where there's a bunch of people that are so ego-driven, and it's like win, 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 kill, kill, kill. I prefer people that are more into the skill domain. Yes, train hard, but don't be a moron, all right? So look out for people that train hard that aren't morons. In a sense, they like a good hard training, but they also have finesse and skill, and that's where their interest lies. Okay? I also like schools. Again, I've trained at a couple of these places. 10th Planet Jiu-Jitsu, they're pretty open-minded. You know, the founder of 10th Planet was like a pot-smoking musician kind of guy, and so and very creative. So in that school, for example, there's a flavor of open-mindedness. You know, I've trained with guys that are very high-ranking in that stuff, and they're very, as if, gentle and sensitive and aware. And they know what they're doing. This is my preferred, so I would invite you to check that out. And again, the way you find that out is just go in the school, try a class for free, and just, you know, take it easy on yourself. Don't go crazy. Don't go trying to beat somebody up right away. Just see what they got, and then you decide based on your experience. That's what I would do. Good teachers, like, listen and watch them. Watch how they are. Ask yourself, are they committed to teaching the people? Are they good teachers? Are they attentive to their students' needs? Are they aware of their surroundings and aware of what's happening in the room, and then aware of managing people to maintain progression and also minimize injuries, in a sense? Not that they're like a super hawk, you know, but it's like maybe an awareness and attentiveness that I would equate that with a teacher of skill. You know, they're aware of what's going on. They're going to make sure that they take care of their students. They also have an interest in their students learning, you know, as opposed to, don't just fucking sweat it out and blah, blah, blah. They're not, you know, it's a different vibe. All right, so those would be the places I would look if I was looking for a new place. Okay, also you can check for stuff like cleanliness. You know, I've been in some places where there's like people just like spitting on the floor. They don't take care of the space. It's like a low consciousness environment, you could call it. This is probably the conscientiousness of the environment is indicative of the mind of the people that run the place. Now, if it's a sloppy place, it's a sloppy mind, likely. All right, and I do not like that myself. It's like, it's the wrong kind of learning environment. I like a place where people are disciplined, they're clear, they're aware of their surroundings, and that's going to, you know, reflect on the way people train and the way the esteem of the place. All right, so it's something, you know, you could look out for as well. Okay, let's see what else for you. Otherwise, get out there and go do it. Now, if you want to make progress, it's consistency and learning over time. It's not just consistency for consistency's sake. It's consistency plus improvement, constant improvement, which is going to drive your skill level to increase. That is the goal, if in my world, if you're training. Don't just train to repeat, as Peter would say. Train to master what you do, and then you will constantly be growing and learning, and your skill level will go up. And if your skill level goes up, you will feel more confident in your environment. You're like, yeah, I can handle business. If somebody comes to mess with me, I'm comfortable. And that comfort will exude out of your body as if like a vibe, or if you get real cozy with yourself in that way, people will notice that, and they're less likely usually to mess with you because of the way you carry yourself and your mind and presence. It'll kind of, it should, permeate a little bit out in the room. Okay? So that's what I have for you. Otherwise, reflecting a bit more on your letter. Yes, Systema does seem to be the most relaxed art out there aside from Chengxin. Chengxin is the most relaxed. We are fanatical about relaxing and yielding and dodging and mobility and understanding power and mind and a whole bunch of other stuff. Systema isn't close to that level, but it's the closest that I've ever seen. They actually try to relax and breathe. And funnily enough, Systema is principles-based. I believe they have like 4 principles of relationship. It's breathe, move, relax, and structure. And the rest is just kind of open. So it gives it that fluid, open quality. And also they're introducing principles, which not a lot of arts have that. It's usually more technical. This is like more principles-based. So anyway, I find that interesting. And yes, they're more relaxed. Now, viable for defense? maybe from a movement standpoint and a standpoint of calming the mind, but in terms of practicality, not so sure. All right. Sometimes in those environments, as best I can tell, there's a lot of the students going along with the program, which I understand, and it creates a certain fluidity, but it's going, again, more choreographed or more, the opponent isn't against you, so you don't learn what to do when somebody's against you. Whereas these other fighting arts do. The person is against you strongly, and you've got to learn to deal with that. And then you learn those real skills. Okay. Yeah, that's what I got for you. Can't think of anything else. Good luck with your training. If you have other questions, please let me know. Anybody else, you're out there, you want to chime in on the forum? I mean, any of you with lots of martial background, check my forum. Go there. You're welcome to comment on the post and see if you can help this gentleman out with his trying to find a class. Any, those comments are welcome. Pontificating and just blowing smoke is not welcome, and then keeping things short and concise is also welcome. I've got some ground rules, is what I'm trying to say. I don't want my forum to devolve into crap. Like some forums, a lot of people just putting crap out there. I want it to be good, helpful, valuable, useful, and concise. All right, cool. That's it. Thanks for writing in. If you want to check out some stuff, I've got a few courses. Sign up for them. You want to hire me to do stuff with you? Check my website. I want to do some corporate workshops. I would also like to do some other workshops. We have a summer retreat coming up. If you're interested in the martial, we're actually doing a summer retreat here, week-long, Art of Effortless Power. Come over, work with me and Peter, and let's do some work. We have a mat space back there, and it's empty right now because there's nobody here. We just got done doing some workshops. So that's why it's empty, except for this body. All right, cool. That's it. Much love. Again, Stefano, thank you for writing in. Please feel free to write me in the comments. Send me something on the forum. Much love. Train hard. Train smart. Train a lot. And you'll get real good at your craft. Okay? And that will have consequences on your life. Much love. Take care. Until next time.